Somebody may need to check in on the Phoenix Suns. And I say that because the situation seems to be getting worse before it gets better. Now, there's an opportunity for them to potentially make some good moves in the offseason and rebound in a meaningful way next season, But I don't know how likely that is, but today the top brass of the team did do some media availability in which they talked about a lot of things like Coach Bud, their expectations for the roster, expectations on a culture set around defense, which is interesting, and more. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that here today and react to some of the videos. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. The thumbs up does help the channel, so make sure that you do that. If you see it below, let's say 300, we'd appreciate it. Also, 80% of viewers are missing out by not being subscribed, so make sure you're joining the 20% that is, if that's you. All right, so first things first, Matt Ishbia on firing Mike Budenholzer. The team and the roster that was constructed is much better than a 36-win roster, and there are a lot of reasons why Coach Bud is not here. Now, the first thing I'll say is that yeah, okay. Like if you read out the list of players on a roster sheet and you're like, okay, they've got Tyus Jones, they've got their big three, they've got Nick Richards, they've got all these guys, Royce O'Neal, like they've got these guys on their roster. And when I read the list, I'm like, okay, Grayson Allen, okay. It doesn't seem like a 36-win team, right? But I mean, basketball's not played that way, right? You don't just say, oh, look at all these names and get sticker shock from that and say, okay, well, this team should win 50 games, right? That's not how it works. You have to meet the right synergy with these players when you're constructing these rosters. And that is, I think, the biggest problem with this roster, just in general, no matter who they put on the periphery, is that they've got 90, let's say, percent of their cap tied into three guys that have similar skill sets and they have similar focuses out there. And so you inevitably wind up asking these guys to do other things out there just to make the fit better. And that's probably not their primary skill. And you have just similar deficiencies as well with some of them too. So that being said, it just doesn't fit. Like the team needs to fit. So that I think is not really how you can look at or construct a roster. But I do think the Bud piece is interesting. I think he flat out lost the locker room. But the thing is, I think this organization's had 7 coaches in the last 10 years, which is crazy. Something like that, something outlandish like that. But the thing is that seriously, it's hard to keep the locker room when you're losing games. I know that's kind of like a novel concept, right? Like it's not. I'm just being, I'm just being sarcastic. But like, if you're losing more than you're expecting to lose, obviously tension will rise. People want to win. They don't want to lose, especially if you've got older superstars like a Kevin Durant. They don't want to lose, right? And they lose faith in coaching if it clearly isn't working. But I'll say, like we talked about previously in Phoenix Suns videos, that at a point, it's not all the different coaches that are coming in and out of the organization. There's something else that's wrong here, or multiple something else's that are wrong with this situation, right? And I think that can't go, understated. Like we need to talk about that. Now, they could just be hiring the wrong coaches the last couple of years and not putting them in positions to be successful. I think that's absolutely possible. But let's go ahead and talk more about what he had to say here. And also on Bud, there were so many different things that came out. They mostly put the blame on him. They were concerned about his ego. Like I said, he lost the locker room, all these different things. So let's cover this video here first. All that and more. But first, we need to get into a quick sponsor for today's video.
The NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and there's nothing like seeing a playoff game in person. That's why I'm thrilled to have SeatGeek as the sponsor of this video. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, you can get tickets to the MLB season, and the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. I love going to live events using SeatGeek. For me, it's about the value. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So you look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. I love that. Takes all of the worry out of buying tickets. And I came through for you guys. Use our code Bulletin10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Bulletin10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Again, big shout out to SeatGeek. Super thrilled to have them on as a sponsor for the Basketball Bulletin.
We got to get the next hire right, and we will. The team and the roster that was constructed by James, Josh, the scouts, the front office is much better than a 36-win roster. So there's a lot of reasons why Coach Bud's not here. I'm not going to get to all those reasons, but definitely believe we should have won a lot more games and been a lot more competitive during those games as well. And so I wish him the best, but it was the wrong coach for our organization and for that team. And at the end of the day, you can blame me for it because I'm the owner at the end of the day.
I think mostly what he said is true. Wrong coach for the situation that the team was in, all that stuff. And yeah, they should have been more competitive. Maybe 45 wins is what I would have said. I think they underachieved, obviously underachieved. But again, I just don't think the basketball fit is great. So when you say, oh, our roster is XYZ, it should have done XYZ, then yeah, okay, sure. But I just don't think the fit's great. So what can you really do about that? They talked about wanting to try to trade Bradley Beal, or there were reports about it, I should say, that they wanted to try to trade Beal. He was not wanting to get moved basically anywhere. He turned down everything because he has the ability to do so. Well, guess what? When you decided to just forcefully make this trade pre-CBA kicking in, you knew what you would be getting yourself into. And you said, okay, let's go get the best available player at the time. And that happened to be Beal. Screw the fit. We'll make it work. Well, you didn't make it work, right? You didn't make it work. And then they got to a point where they're like, okay, well, we have no other choice but to trade KD because we don't want to trade Booker. And KD was like, okay, well, I'll let you guys listen. And at first it's like, okay, yeah, just listening. All right. Yeah, KD doesn't mind that. They're just listening to offers, whatever. And then it became a very real possibility. And it was like right there. And KD said, no, I don't want to trade. And then they weren't able to pull off a trade to Golden State. And now there was a report that came out a couple of days ago that they regret not keeping KD involved in that process at the time. And that probably, KD is expected to be gone. There's a report that he's expected to have interest in the Houston Rockets. But that probably is a huge reason why they're going to lose Kevin Durant this offseason. Now, setting aside whether or not that's for the betterment of the organization, KD himself probably doesn't want to stay there. You just tried to trade him. So, and with that leverage being against them, the situation with his contract, all that stuff, I can't imagine they get a Kevin Durant, quote unquote, level return back, right? Like something that would say, okay, this is what 36-year-old Kevin Durant is worth. I don't know what that is, right? They've talked about wanting all these different things. They want these assets. They want young players. They want, things that can help them remain competitive right now because they still want to retool around Booker. Okay, you can't have everything exactly how you want it. So what are you going to settle on in this situation? Let's get into a little bit more with Matt here.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of change. Here's what I'll say. Coach Bud, that change was made. Didn't need more evaluation.
Didn't need more
evaluated, but it's going to start with me being accountable and setting an identity, and then making sure that the identity we set for Phoenix Suns is set from the ownership. The fans are going to love it and be proud of it. The front office is aligned. The coaches are aligned. The players are aligned. And there's going to be players that sometimes we don't take the most talented player because they don't align with what we believe in. And so those are the changes I'm going to be focused on right now. And then they'll all will fall into line. And we are going to be making changes, and there's going to be things that are going to be different. And like I said, we will be better. You will enjoy watching our team much better next year. And that's my job. My job is to I think there's a lot of things that I do as an owner. But one of the four things I talked about when I was just bought the team 2.5 years ago was winning, right? Like we talked about community. I think we're doing a heck of a job. We talk about fan experience. I think we do a lot of things that other people don't do. I think culture, we do a lot of great things. I had to do some things. Winning has not been where we want. And part of that is we had high expectations and we've missed the bell by a lot. Not just last year, but this year and last year, obviously. Or not this year, last year and this year. And changes are coming.
Yeah, so he was asked about, the rest of the guys like James Jones, basically. And that last part I can't really speak to. I don't know about, the in Phoenix environment around the team. I can't really speak to that last stuff he was talking about, but it was funny listening to him say that, they want this, that, they want to be aligned. Okay, all that sounds really good. It's all sweet. It sounds really good. And he's like, there are going to be situations where we don't take the best available player because they don't fit. Holy crap. Where was that a couple of years ago? Where was that? I couldn't help but just laugh at that a little bit. And yeah, all that sounds great, but I guess better late than never in terms of getting that all worked out, right? And this won't make it in the video, but I did have this that I wanted to share. We're going to remove that, add this. So Matt Ishbia, everyone said today, the Suns plan to reestablish an identity built around defense. I don't know where this clip is. I don't have it. Phoenix dropped from 13th to 27th in defensive rating this season. Potential remorse there about firing Vogel after just one season in 23-24. I also think that they probably made a mistake. Here's the thing. Like, I don't think either of them was the right coach in terms of being a high-level basketball mind, because the way that this team needed to compete is that with that roster, they need to be like a top 3 offense, top 2, top 3 offense at worst. Like they had to do that. Without looking at it, I'm pretty sure they're not a top 3 offense. But yeah, I don't think that either of these guys was the right mind. But at least Vogel coached up a average defense, a little bit above average. Like, that's good. That's good. Going from 13 to 27 is criminal, right? So, yeah, there could be a little bit of remorse there. Yeah, they probably let him go a little bit too soon, because you also probably need to give these coaches more than 1 year, especially like when they're a brand new coach, to come in, establish what they need, and then work with them on getting the roster to a point that they needed to be at. I think Vogel probably needed more defensive talent on his roster. We've seen the man be a wizard with just defensive players on his roster, coaching up top defenses. So that being said, yeah, there could be a little bit of that too. So yeah, he was talking about, though, in that last clip, that they need to do some evaluation on some of the guys. And he did say that Bud didn't need any further evaluation, which I thought was a hilarious shot. I want to see what he says with Bartelstein here.
I didn't know that.
By the way, the context of this clip is they were asked if he is too invasive on basketball operations, like if he wants to have too much control over it. And we talked about how when he comes in, he instantly makes boom, boom, boom changes. And Trevor's lamented that, like, yeah, a lot of times owners come in and they want to make these big, shiny, flashy new changes because that's what they want to do and that's what they're used to, right? So that being said, that was always a talking point or a point of contention. So, let's see what we have here.
Matt's involvement is pushing us, asking the right questions. He said Matt hasn't made one trade. He hasn't told James and I one free agent to sign or one draft pick. He's involved, and he should be involved. He's the owner. This is a big business, and these guys make a lot of money, and he asks the right questions because we want to win. But the work that James does, I do, our team does, making recommendations. And this is my 10th year in the NBA. James has been a lot longer. That's how every team works. Every owner wants to know the why behind it. Ultimately, they got to sign off because these are all investments. So he should be involved. And I can tell you, one of the coolest things about my role is getting to hear how he does it, because he's had a lot of success in a lot of different things. And the success in the mortgage business, there's certainly themes and aspects that apply here. And we want to keep putting those in place. A lot of our values and visions are tied to that. So it's no concern to me at all. And the misconception of what he actually does is very, very flawed.
I love Matt's care factor, and more importantly, it's extremely helpful across all aspects of the organization to have an owner who's actively investing and actively listening to us, right? The challenges of winning and winning at a high level, it's extremely difficult. This is the world's best league, and that's why we all want to be here. There's nothing better than having an owner who cares. That just means that he knows and is aware of the things that matter to you, and that's why you'll run through a wall for him.
Just a quick follow.
So again, all that's nice. They're not going to get up there and flame him, of course. Right? They're not going to say, yeah, he's a little too involved. But I did think that was interesting, that they were asked about his involvement. And he himself said that he wants to take a step back and just establish a culture and focus on that. And I think that probably is for the best, but situationally, the team is still in that weird situation with the roster where they don't have a lot of flexibility. Realistically, this may be a couple, 2-3 years of damage control. I don't know what they can do immediately, but hey, maybe they pull off a KD trade. They get some worse players, but better fits, right? Of course, because it's hard to match a KD just 1-for-1, right? But worse players, but better fits, and they're better off for it. That is absolutely possible. That is absolutely possible. And it is within the realm of reason. So maybe that winds up happening. We'll see what happens. But altogether, if you guys haven't seen our previous video today, make sure you check it out. It is on the screen. You're not going to want to miss it. And we'll see you guys later.